The month is January 2025. The Memecoin space is booming, Donald Trump has just launched one himself, and everyone is getting rugged on celebrity coins. In the midst of all this though, a new coin rose from the ashes, MLG. Harkening back to the days of no scopes on Rust, meme-worthy montages and Hoodie Allen classics, the coin instilled a sense of nostalgia in many. But little did we know, its holders would soon get nostalgic about the money they'd once invested. 6 months later, and the coin is in absolute peril. Its biggest champion dumped over $100,000 and sparked a heated exchange between himself and a close friend who got sucked into the LA vape cabal vortex. Allegations of scamming, calls for a CoffeeZilla investigation, frequent callouts during streams, and the latest in a long line of controversies that has now forced FaZe Banks to retire from the CEO position of FaZe Clan. This is the story of MLG Coin. MLG first started moving in January, and it didn't take long for it to garner attention, despite being dead for months. One of the most notable people to get behind it was none other than FaZe Banks. He soft-shilled it on X, telling us that indeed, he is FaZe Banks.
Very much legit. And then also in my mind, I'm FaZe Banks, I'm positioned in a way where...
This might be the most shocking part of the entire story. I had no idea that FaZe Banks was indeed FaZe Banks. For those who didn't watch Modern Warfare montages and wasted time trying to hit temper shots growing up, FaZe was a clan that took over the internet and expanded so much that it eventually went public, which went incredibly for a while. Banks was the CEO of FaZe, and this isn't his first foray into crypto or other controversies related. From a dodgy CSGO betting site to being linked with the infamous Save the Kids scam, multiple failed NFT projects, and getting in really early to the Libra launch, which weirdly enough Thread Guy very promptly muted once he let that slip.
Round trip, bro, I was up like fucking 300, I got in really early, I was up like 300K, and fucking luckily...
I'm muted.
It's legit.
This was more than just a first rodeo, and with clips like this being associated with him, it's not like Banks was ever quiet about his crypto expeditions.
We figured out how to just scoop so much money out of Hollywood and the internet, like, we're just running with it.
I know it, dude.
Until the f***ing wheels fall off.
Man, dude.
Which, looking back, even if MLG wasn't a scam, it's easy for people to connect the dots when your name is constantly in the wrong places. On January 3rd, the coin was worth around $2 million. By January 7th, $147 million. What happened? I'm no genius, but a rise of 73x in a few short days for a token already valued in the millions clearly says a lot. Now the price did drop back down to around the $50 to $60 million mark, and that was when the next big push happened. Later in January, Aiden Ross tweeted Thread Guy of all people, asking him what to buy. Was this a random tweet out of the blue? Well, MLG coin randomly pumped from that mark, and one can only wonder why, but I will leave that to CoffeeZilla. On January 27th, one of the most dumb and iconic crypto moments of this cycle took place. And no, I'm not talking about this.
Of Trump coins, etc.
It's something.
It hasn't even started.
Yeah, it's something that you have to like.
What do you mean? It has started. The biggest Solana coin just dropped, and that's what made it go to $300.
Exactly,
It just started.
Aiden Ross, a prominent streamer on Kick, hosted a stream with what can only be described as the people ruining most of your Memecoin adventures. The Avengers of Solana assembled. Frank DeGods, Thread Guy, and of course, FaZe Banks. The concept of the stream was simple: to talk about crypto and educate Aiden Ross and his many followers on the current situation of the trenches. Banks and Aiden have had a long-standing relationship, including the fact that Ross allegedly now owns 20% of FaZe Clan after investing $5 million during its rebrand. The two had formerly lived together, and the word trust means an awful lot in this story. They also just launched Breath Death, which I still don't know what it is, but it sounds pretty accurate for a degen after a day of trading. Fast forward through some typical streamer yap from people in the States, and Aiden asked Banks and his vaping friends about MLG Coin, to which Banks is adamant to this day he told Aiden not to buy. While the vape cabal sat nodding, smiling at every word ever said, and drew pretty pie charts of no useful information whatsoever, Aiden Ross decided it was time to go all in. He invested $50,000. which is chump change for someone throwing $5 million into FaZe Clan, right? Well, you wouldn't think so with what happened next. Right after his buy, the token started to dump suspiciously. Ross expressed concern about how he was down 12k despite only just buying, and the response from the rest of the room was interesting.
Your buy is like a spot to sell.
I'm
it's
down
just,
12 grand.
It's okay.
It'll go up.
People have been expecting this moment all day. So a lot of people bought MLG probably today, expecting you were going to buy it and using the event of you buying it to sell it. But it's fine.
Now look, if I'd have just been told that the meme coin I bought I was used as exit liquidity by a friend of mine, he would get smacked over the head with a wooden spoon. But on the daily chart, there wasn't a single green candle for 10 whole days following the all-time high. That single candle appeared at a value of 49 million. Oh dear. As time went on and the coin continued to dump, Aiden Ross would make his views on the event very public, making several different statements on streams in the following months, flaming the likes of Frank DeGod and threatening to report the group to the IRS. Now this was a pretty aggressive stance to take. Don't get me wrong, 50k is a lot of money, but Ross is worth around 24 million. So something tells me it is deeper than just that. In fact, the entire group featured on those streams went very silent. Frank DeGod must be exercising the omnipresent part of his name, not needing to say or do anything since he's everywhere. Orangey went back to selling access to a Discord server and making videos on teenagers with Lamborghinis, and Banks went radio silent. Although Thread Guy did continue to stream and bought us this gem.
$20 million worth of tokens that were purchased in the open market.
And I mean, you guys got a lot of fucking money. You guys got a lot of money. I appreciate you touching on that.
Was this all due to MLG, or perhaps the Libra incident, or something else that forced this cabal into silence? As far as MLG was concerned though, it was a similar story, including the price action. By the 8th of May, the price fell down to just $4 million, from a peak of over 260 million. That's tragic. A 90% drop experienced, while Banks is adamant he never sold a dime. The storm did just look to be settled and quietly fading into obscurity despite the occasional outbursts from Aiden Ross in reference to those he believed wronged him, and it seemed obvious that Aiden too was distancing himself from the crypto space due to taking a big loss, and looked to make that the end of it. But then, at the end of July, a leaked screenshot from the official MLG holders chat showed Banks blaming Aiden Ross for his token's downfall, saying the community dumped on him buying and everything that followed was a result of that. Yeah, I'm sure a 90% drawdown in a few months was all the community members selling after an endorsement from one of the most famous streamers in history. Banks called Ross a bad actor and once again reaffirmed he'd never sold a penny, defending his friends in the face of Aiden's accusations of them selling. Around the same time, Banks sold his entire bag, netting a total loss of over $106,000. He remains insistent that he made no money off the token, round-tripped all of it, and came out worse than everyone else. Fast forward less than a couple of days, and Banks actually stepped down as the CEO from FaZe. Although new information and new leaked screenshots reveal that Banks was looking to potentially acquire some more supply or do some OTC deals, which mean that these deals would not affect the chart of MLG. So there were some things going on that he hasn't even admitted in the events that followed with Aiden, and it again just makes the picture murkier. Banks and Ross sat down on a stream following this announcement to hash it out, and it went just as expected. Banks openly called for CoffeeZilla or ZachXBT to investigate the coin, saying he would even go as far as to pay CoffeeZilla to investigate it, which is certainly a bold strategy, and I genuinely can't think if that has ever worked out for anyone. Is he calling his bluff or simply defending his innocence? Ross mentioned how he and his lawyer have made everyone in that stream that night sign a form that cements the fact that nobody dumped on him following his buy. This is going to get murky though, because even if they do turn over wallets, there is a chance that side wallets were used. Now I'm not saying they were, I've not looked into it, but it's definitely possible. However, this seems to have assured Aiden that Banks and his friends didn't dump on him. If I carried this kind of investigation out every time one of my boys dumped on me after buying a coin, I'd be here for 9 years. Things got a bit racy later on though.
Aiming the stream.
Yeah.
Brother, you don't know what the you're doing. You have no idea what you're doing. This
Yeah,
is
I really
the problem.
don't.
You put your full faith in me and my team to tell you what you're doing. You do what it is that we told you to do, right?
Yeah.
Then this happens where you're getting baited and you're getting different information from side people. There's people in your ear.
For Banks to aggressively shut down Aiden, who is clearly vulnerable in this position, by clowning his lack of intelligence is certainly a move. Even if it's not a scam, this is just unnecessarily aggressive and doesn't paint Banks in the best light. I did find this part interesting though, that Aiden apparently doesn't know what he did with the money.
You lose the full 50 bands and you just leave it to zero or what?
I don't even know what I ended up doing with that. I don't even know.
I mean, you lost at least half, whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't even matter. It wasn't even ever.
Which I find hard to believe given how much he clearly seems to care about it and what actually happened to the coin. This all feels incredibly dramatic for a 50k investment for someone worth over 24 million. Again, a lot of money, but not for Aiden Ross, who gambled that most nights in his peak during those gambling streams. What really happened between Banks, Ross, the Vape Cabal, and any other insiders on that MLG coin might never be known. But it just doesn't complete the picture when you look at that chart. It's scary that nobody really knows if this is a scam or not. How does a token with that many holders go from $200 million down to 4 with no one trying to resuscitate it, no extra layers of marketing, no one really pushing it, and all the major voices that once held it falling radio silent? At that point, it doesn't even feel like a scam, it just feels like a vacated project that everyone just ran off into the sunset with radio silence. But why would they do that without ever selling? Things just don't add up. Our only hope is for CoffeeZilla to one day tell the story in full. Or maybe one day I can dive into the blockchain myself. But until next time, I'll see you in the trenches.